Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Lima, Peru. I'm currently here in Peru for a little over 2 weeks and I decided to make a video about food. Lima is known as the food capital of South America, and I thought that it would be an absolute mistake not to make a video about the delicious food that is in this city. I'm going to give you 5 restaurants, ending with the one that you absolutely cannot miss. So stick around to the end, and then I'll give you a little bonus of a fruit that you'll find very delicious. Without further ado, let's get into it. A little note before we begin. Am I trying to enter the food vlogger scene? No, that is not my lane, but I do travel a lot. There is a big component of travel on my YouTube channel, and Lima is known for food, so I had to do you all a service and give you a review of spots that you can't miss. Am I qualified to be rating food or to be giving you advice on what food you should be eating? That's questionable. But I have been to every country in Central America. I currently live in South America, in Brazil. I've been to Ecuador, I've been to Colombia, Argentina, and now Peru. So I have some experience eating and I absolutely love food. So take that and do with it as you please, but I'm still going to make this video, and hopefully by watching it you come to Lima, you eat these foods, and your experience is enhanced because of it. Let's start off with the first place that you can't miss. This first restaurant is called Canarana, and it's located in Barranco, the bohemian neighborhood here in Lima. This was the place that I first came to when I arrived. It was a little early before my check-in to my Airbnb, and so I dropped off my suitcases at a storage place and I went directly to this place. Why did I go here first? Well, you may know it or you may not know it, but Lima is famous for its ceviche, and I'm a huge fan of ceviche, and I wanted that to be my first meal. So I went to this restaurant, I sat down, I started talking to the waiter, and I asked him, what recommendation can you give me? What are you guys known for? There was a whole list of ceviches, and I had absolutely no idea what to choose. After listening to what he had to say, he told me to go with Imperial, which was one of their classic dishes. And to be honest, that's all I needed to trust him. One thing that I do have to admit here on camera is that I gave up eating octopus probably 3 to 4 years ago because I watched the Netflix documentary, My Octopus Teacher. Completely changed how I view octopuses, octopi, and I just gave it up immediately, which was sad because I love octopus. I love all seafood, but it hit something inside of my soul, so I had to give it up. When I was asking this waiter about the ceviche, almost every single one that he mentioned said that it had octopus in it, unless I ordered a specific fish only ceviche. I realized in that moment that as I was going to be doing this food tour of Lima and just in Peru in general, if I really wanted to have the full authentic experience of ceviche, I was probably going to have to eat octopus. Did I hesitate in deciding whether to eat octopus or not? Absolutely not. I folded immediately and I gave up the 3 to 4 year streak. I'm not ashamed. But that's what I did. So I chose the Imperial, and as you can see here, it was juicy. It was incredible. And what really stood out to me was the lime. I asked the waiter, what is the clave, the key to making a good ceviche, according to a Peruano? And he said that it was the amount of lime that you use, which I found to be interesting. And he said that in these dishes, they use specifically 4 limes. You really taste that citrus when you're eating this. Other than that, it's very fresh. Fresh fish, fresh onions, fresh ingredients all around. One thing to note is that eating ceviche here in Lima, or just the country in general, is going to be a thing that you do typically around the morning or the midday. You won't be eating ceviche at night. Why? Because all of this stuff is fresh. And so the fishermen come in with their catch in the morning, and basically restaurants will sell ceviche until they're done with fish. So keep that in mind as you seek out your ceviche. The second place that you have to hit here in Lima is La Lucha Sangucheria Criolla. I like the vibe of this place because it kind of felt like an In-N-Out back home in LA. Not in the sense that it was fast food and cheap, but in terms of their systems and the flow of how they pumped out food. It was very efficient and somewhat quick. So they had a lot of workers. It was clean. They were very attentive to your needs, and the service was great. Again, I asked the hostess what is this place known for? What do people most order here? Because I was curious about what people gravitate towards. And I ended up ordering the chicharron sandwich. I'm kind of picky with how I like my chicharron. I love pork, but I'm very picky when it comes to chicharron. But I decided to give this a try because I wanted to be open minded and to experiment. The sandwich did not disappoint. The bread was not too hard or not too soft. I opted for the extra added meat. And again, there's a few basic ingredients. You had these awesome fries that were fresh and just cut, and then they included a couple aioli sauces to dip the fries in. It was a very juicy sandwich. I felt very satisfied after the fact. And it even included this local drink that you'll find everywhere in the city. This drink is called chicha morada. It's kind of like this deep purple, and it's actually from the Andes Mountains, and it's made from corn. It's kind of got like a berry taste. It's a little bit bitter, and it's the perfect side drink to a lot of the meals that you'll have here in the city. Apart from ceviche, Lima, Peru, is also known for pollo a la brasa. It's a very basic dish, but Peruvians claim to do it better than anyone else. So I absolutely had to try. Where I would try it was what was in question. So I was walking around one day and I was in an art gallery. This art gallery was kind of like a colectivo vibe where there was a lot of different brands, and there were some people who worked for the whole gallery sitting and working in the space on their computers. As I was walking around looking at the art and kind of observing, I noticed that they had chosen to order food and eat lunch in the space. And their lunch I saw was a bag that had the word Primos on it. So I decided to look it up immediately, and it turns out it's a place that specializes in pollo a la brasa. So I saved it and decided that I was going to eat there. This is the third spot that you need to try when you come to Lima. So it's actually a chain, and it does feel kind of like fast food vibes. But again, fast food in the States, from where I'm from, is completely different than what you might find in other places. So don't let the word fast food turn you off. This restaurant was cool because it was quite big. There was a lot of space to eat in groups or in families. They had TVs so you could watch some football, and the service was excellent. Once again, I asked the waiter what I should order. I was in between getting lomo or pollo, and I also wasn't sure how much to get. I was in between getting a half of a pound or a quarter of a pound, and the waiter told me that it was bien servido, which means that large portions came with the meal. Not only did I get a quarter pound of chicken, but I got a bunch of fries and a side salad, and then of course the chicha morada. So I was happy with my choice to get the pollo a la brasa. I got a large chicken breast, as you can see here, and it was cooked to perfection. When I say that it was delicious and juicy and just cooked so well, I was very pleased with it and understood in that moment why Peruvians are so proud of their pollo a la brasa. I'm happy that I saw those workers eating Primos because I may have missed this option otherwise. It's definitely a spot that you need to hit. We're getting closer to the spot that you absolutely cannot miss when you come to Lima. But the fourth place that you have to hit while you're visiting this beautiful country is actually a cafe called Alena, also located here in Barranco. This is actually a French cafe and is in a popular location that's nice for walking around. It's clean, it's very green, and there are a lot of dogs around. I decided to hit up this cafe on a Sunday morning after I hit the gym. Wasn't really thinking that one through because as I rolled up to this cafe, I saw a huge line of people from a distance, and I was worried that I was going to have to wait for a long time or that maybe I'd shown up too late. There's actually another cafe right across the street called Demo, and both of them are super popular and known to be some of the best two spots here in the city. I actually just decided to choose the one that had a shorter line because I was hungry and I didn't want to wait for a long time, and that ended up being Alena. Alena is spelled Alayna, by the way. And I was really happy. I got lucky because I am a solo traveler right now, and despite there being lines at multiple of the places that I went to, I usually got seated really quickly because it's not hard to seat one person. So despite the fact that there was a line, I got seated within 5 minutes, and I decided to order a breakfast sandwich, which was a sandwich and a croissant. It was avocado, jamon, cheese, the works. In addition to that, I was feeling a little bit experimental. I'm not a caffeine drinker. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. But I did have a bit of an affinity for matcha in Mexico City when I was there because it was everywhere, and I kind of grew to like it. And so I decided to order an horchata matcha here at this cafe. It ended up being amazing. And then in addition to that, since I was at a cafe, I'm already here in Lima, I decided to order another croissant, but that was sweet. Again, I asked the waiter what they were known for, and she told me that they were known for this pistachio croissant. So I ordered it, and it was incredible. I definitely have a sweet tooth, and my sweet tooth was satisfied after this meal. The croissant itself was kind of coated in like the sugar, and then you had this pistachio paste filling both on top and inside of the croissant. It wasn't too sweet and it was quite filling, but it blew me away. And I was very happy that I ordered it after the fact. What I liked about Alena is that it still felt very local. When I looked at the other spot, Demo, and I saw that really long line, it definitely looked like there were a bunch of tourists in that line. And I tried to stay away from those places, although I'm sure they're well known for a reason. This place, Alena, although it did have a line as well, everyone around me as I was observing and listening was just speaking Spanish, and everyone seemed to be from Lima. So I prefer those kinds of places as opposed to the other ones. Just something to keep in mind. All right, now it's time for the place that you cannot miss when you come to Lima, Peru. I don't really recall how I stumbled across this place. I think it must have been while I was doing research before I came to this country, but I don't even remember pinning it on my maps. I woke up this day wanting ceviche. That's all I had in mind. And I looked at my map with all of these pins. This was a ceviche spot that I hadn't hit yet, so I decided to go there. When I rolled up, I was immediately shocked at the amount of people that were there, waiting both outside and who are already inside. And I felt like I had stumbled upon something that was important. I walked up to the hostess to ask what the wait time was, and she said it was 45 minutes. I was already starving by that point. But just by being inside, feeling the energy and seeing the people that were there, the vibes itself, I was like, this is worth my time. I don't mind if I have to wait. They even served me some dried out corn with some salt on it to wait, and so I was happy with that. And I was hoping that once again, being a solo traveler would work out in my favor and that I would get seated quickly. 12 minutes later, I was seated. I got a seat at the bar and I started to take in all of my surroundings. This place is called Lamar Cevicheria. What I noticed first was how incredibly busy it was. There were workers everywhere, kind of like running around, attending to everyone. The music was cumbia. It was very lively and it felt like business casual vibes. There were people standing by the bar. There was people standing by tables. Everyone was eating. It was just an awesome atmosphere. The bar itself was also very lively as a lot of people were drinking and they were making a lot of cocktails. I was looking at the menu, I was quite unsure what to get. And so once again, I asked my waiter what he recommended. I asked about what they were known for, and I ended up settling on a dish called the norteño. So I chose this dish because I learned at the first ceviche spot that different parts of Peru do ceviche differently. And I learned that in the north of Peru, they add leche, which is not real milk, but it makes the ceviche more cremoso, more creamy. And I was curious about it. So I decided to get that one just to see what their spin on it would be like. And then I ordered a cocktail. As I was waiting for this dish, I noticed that there were some plaques on the wall. And the plaque said Latin America's 50 best restaurants. And it had plaques dating back all the way to 2013. With the exception of a few years in between with the pandemic, it had an award for every single year until 2025, this most recent year. And that really struck me as something important as well. So I started researching that. And I learned that this restaurant actually was the benchmark for Peruvian being a food that was recognized regionally here in South America to being recognized internationally. So there's a chef who started this restaurant who actually studied in France and decided to come back home and to source local ingredients, to just be local. And so he collaborated with fishermen and other locals to make it a very authentic experience. And then from there, Peruvian food just became famous internationally. He's opened restaurants all over the country and all over the world, and he's now well known for his food. What's interesting is that I was recommended a couple restaurants here in the city that are your traditional tasting menu courses vibes, but I really wasn't interested in that this time around because I'm by myself and that's quite expensive. This would be maybe one level below that. It's still upscale, but it's not traditional in the sense that there's a tasting menu and you have to sit through an entire 13-course meal or something like that. So the ceviche eventually arrived and I was very excited, and the first bite just blew me away. easily, without a doubt, this was the best meal that I've had in this country. And this is a place that I will recommend to anybody that I know is coming to Lima. And if and when I do come back to this country, it will be the first place that I go to because it was incredible. It was so full of flavor. Again, simple ingredients. It's nothing complicated, but the freshness is what you're really drawn to. It's that lime. The cocktail was really well made. I continued to take in my surroundings. I noticed that there were 5 men seated next to me, and they were all friends, and they were all chatting with pisco sours in their hands, and they had a ceviche in front of them, and they were all sharing it. At one point, one of the guys came up to the bar and asked for another pisco sour for his friend. I had just finished my cocktail, and I decided to order a pisco sour, and the music was awesome. Just felt like I was truly living the essence of what life in Lima is and can be like. And I felt really grateful for that moment because I've been very fortunate to explore much of this continent in South America and in North America. And the Americas offer so much culture and food and life. And to be here in Lima and to have been in that moment where I was enjoying delicious food and taking in these surroundings, and I was completely by myself, was a special one and one that I'll never forget and one of the highlights of my trip thus far. So this place is a special place. You need to visit Lamar and make sure that you give yourself time. Make sure that you come with an appetite. It will be an expensive meal, but hands down, it will be worth it. And it is my number one place that you have to visit in this awesome country. So those are the 5 places that you need to eat at here in Lima. As promised, your one bonus is of a fruit that you need to try while you're here. This fruit is called granadilla. You can find it in any market, any grocery store. It's super interesting. The way I discovered this fruit was my best friends were visiting me in January in Brazil, and they actually were coming from Peru. They brought me this fruit from Peru to Brazil because they loved it so much and they thought that I would too. And as I was coming here for the first time, I texted my friends so that they could remind me what this fruit was called. And the first time that I went to the grocery store, I made sure to buy this. Granadilla is an interesting fruit. It kind of reminds me of like a pomegranate or a passion fruit. It's really interesting because it has like this hard shell. And if you push on it, it feels like almost plasticky. Like if you had like a plastic ball and you pushed on it and you indented it. If you push on it hard enough, it'll eventually crack open like this. And then basically what you do is you just break it apart, quite easy, until you get into this little pouch or sack in the center. So it takes a bit of time and it's a little messy. I'll cut to so you don't have to watch me cracking open this entire fruit. Right, so you get to this white pouch and then you just gently rip it open and then you find all of these seeds on the inside like this. Looks kind of trippy. And then you just eat it and it's so succulent and juicy. So just refreshing and a nice little snack. I bought like 4 or 5 of these from the grocery store so that I could have one every single day for a snack in between meals. And just a simple little joy to enjoy while you're here in the city. Like I said, you can find these anywhere. Try other fruits as well while you're visiting. But this concludes my food video of Lima, Peru. I am headed to Huaraz, north of Lima tomorrow to do some hiking. I'm going to do an 8-day trek through the mountains in the Cordillera Blanca, which I'm really excited about. Stay tuned for that video. As always, thank you for supporting and watching my videos, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.